Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I am your host, Evan Abrams, and I am joined by Brandon Anderson for some best bets for NFL Week 9. Week 9, man. Halfway through. All right. We'll get to those bets shortly, but first, we're going to talk about some fun trends, some talking points, some things that kind of get us ready for the week. So if you were under a rock last week and weren't paying attention to the NFL, you probably didn't know the favorites went 11-2 against the spread, 84.6%. That was the best win percentage for favorites in a single week since December of 1985 is the data that I have. They went 11-2 that week as well. I think the crazy thing about last week, Brandon, was the fact that all 11 favorites covered the spread by 7+ points as well. So complete domination. That was the first time that we had as many teams covered by 7+ in the last 30 years. So wild stuff. I think the other thing that is on the agenda for this week is we have some high totals. Even though you have Denver and Houston, which is 39.5, 40, you have 5 games of 50+. This will be the first week since 2021 with 5 totals of 50+ this week on the closing line. So a little bit, and we had some, I think the last 2 weeks, overs are like 18-8 or something of that nature. So we've seen that trend as well recently. And the last one I'll leave you with before we kind of bring you in here is the MVP. So right now at DraftKings, Patrick Mahomes is the favorite to an MVP at +125. Josh Allen +350. Obviously, they're facing off this week. And then you've got Drake May. Drake May sitting there at 5-1. Listen, as of entering week 5, he was 100-1 to win the NFL MVP. Now, entering week 9, he's down to 5-1. So what he's done this season, though, ridiculous. 2,000 passing yards, 75% completion percentage. That hasn't been done and only been done by Drew Brees in 2018. So, Brandon, you can really hit on whatever you want here. I assume you're interested in the MVP market, though.
Yeah, I'm never going to not comment on the MVP race. Drake May is interesting. I think you're too late if you want stock in Drake May. I think you miss the 100-1 or anything close to it. You don't want to be chasing at 5-1. That is not that he can't win, but that's not a ticket you want to be chasing right now. A lot of it is fattened up on a lot of games against easy opponents. Now, looking forward, there's going to be a lot more easy opponents. That's kind of the whole Drake May Patriots thing. We had, I think about a month ago, we got in on Patriots futures, some make the playoffs bets, some of that when we were in on them. I think there will be ways to invest in Drake. I think there'll be ways to invest in the Patriots, but MVP at 5-1, it's very aggressive, in part because remember, MVP is a team award, and you got to get a top 2 seed almost certainly. And so by starting, Drake May has to beat out the Bills in the division, and they do have the head-to-head, but that's a big ask for the Patriots to do that. We've said this before. Drake May is almost too valuable to the Patriots. Like, there's no question that he is lifting up what they are doing, and he is the whole offense, and that should be most valuable. But historically, that's not really what wins. You almost get like the Josh Allen problem most years till last year. You get the Russell Wilson problem a lot of years in Seattle. If you're too valuable because the rest of your team's not good enough, you're going to lose a couple times, and then you don't get to win MVP anymore because that's kind of how we do the award. So obviously, the names at the top, Allen and Mahomes, that's the big one, right? That's the matchup this week. We've got a lot on that one. I literally have like 10 bets to give out in that game. So we'll have a whole section on that coming up. I think it's fair to say, if you feel like you have a read on who wins that game, just bet MVP. That's it. Bet MVP because the winner of that game is going to be the favorite going forward. And with Mahomes at +125, is he minus odds if he has a good game and they beat the Bills in the game we're all watching? I think that's in play. We talked Sunday night on our recap show about Jordan Love. He was 30-1 at DraftKings when we talked about it. He's not played since then. He's 18-1 now. So we were right to point out some value there. I think what we're going to have coming out of this week is a favorite. We're going to have Mahomes or Allen. That's going to be the guy that everyone coalesces around and says, okay, midseason MVP, this is it. But usually in recent years, that guy is not winning because now we have the guy to all pick apart the rest of the season and to find someone alternative to. So I think, to me, the move is either bet Mahomes or Allen if you want it going into the week, bet your winner, or wait and let the market coalesce around the new favorite, and now you strike on your long shot after that, and maybe we come back and is that a Stafford? Is it a Love? somebody maybe in the NFC. Who do you like in the NFC? I think maybe that's where you look for a nibble.
I think that's all right. I think my 2 points here would be this. So the move for Drake May from 100 to 1 to 5 to 1 seems ridiculous. I looked last 5 years. It's only happened 2 other times where you've had like that short of a span and that much of a leap. And I think it's not ironic that it was last year where it happened twice with Jaden Daniels and Saquon Barkley. I think given how much interest in sports gambling right now, we're making really, really drastic moves based off of games, 2-game, 3-game samples, and things tend to come back. So do I think Drake May has a shot? I do. But I also think it's a moment in time as of now. I think if you want Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen in this scenario to get out of the way, I think you want Josh Allen to win this game. Because I think if Patrick Mahomes wins this game and plays well, I think the Chiefs and him are probably set up more, even though the schedule gets difficult. Like they can lose to Indy. I think if you want both of them to come back to the field and have other people to kind of take advantage, I think Buffalo wins the game. Josh plays all right, but I think it brings Pat back. So that is my opinion. All right. Let's keep moving here. Before we move forward, do not forget to sign up for Action Pro for real-time pick alerts from experts like Brandon Anderson, myself, our entire Action Hour team. Plus, you can access our pro projections powered by Sean Kerner and our predictive analytics team. Just go to actionhour.com/pro. Get $20 off the annual price with the promo code POD20, POD20. So don't miss out on the best bets at the best prices. Visit actionhour.com/pro. Use promo code POD20, POD20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro. All right, let's get to week 9 best bets. Now, if you want to tail some of these bets, just look for the QuickSlip link in the podcast and video description or go to actionnetwork.com/betnow, BETNOW, bet now. All right, we will start with Brandon's pick 6. This is, I believe, the 3rd week of this article. He cashed it in the 1st week. 2nd week, I believe we had a few winners and kind of got to the later slate, so congratulations there. But hey, listen, it's a 16 parlay. The one thing I will say, since week 6, favorites 33-10 straight up, almost 77%. So if Brandon's giving you favorites now, don't roll the eyes. Go.
Yeah, so last week we knew we had all the big favorites. So I tried to throw in a couple underdogs and we got to a 20-1 parlay. I think the instinct was right. Some of the favorites I knew not to trust, we bet on the underdog money lines. We hit Jets last week. We hit Dolphins last week. So I think we were right to leave out some of the favorites. We just didn't realize that none of the underdogs are going to come through. So no Steelers, no Cowboys, really not even close to either of those two at the end of the day. So back to favorites this week, 6 favorites. By the time that you listen, one of them will have played already. I did pick a Thursday night favorite for the first time. I'm going with the Ravens. And then Rams, Jaguars, and Lions, all kind of sizable favorites. I guess Jacksonville a little bit shorter. But then back to primetime to finish out. Seattle on Sunday night, that's been a look ahead and hot read. So, of course, we know I like them. And then Monday night, we'll preview that one on our next pod, but Cowboys in that one. So those 6 teams, Ravens, Rams, Jaguars, Lions, Seahawks, Cowboys, plus 568. As you're listening, of course, the Ravens have played already. So if you've not played yet, without the Ravens, you can do a pick 5, whatever that is, for plus 440. If you like, I recommend in the article Chargers against the Titans. If you want to add that in, you kind of get back to a similar price there. So that's the pick 6 for this week. 6 favorites. Hopefully we get over the line.
Yeah, guys just picking games in prime time looking for the dramatic effect. I get it. All right. best bets time. We are starting with Detroit and Minnesota. What are you doing in this game?
Yeah, look, I as a Vikings fan, I am going to be covering my eyes in this game because I think this is a Lions spot all the way. I'm going to play the Lions, but I'm going to play just the first half, minus 5.5 on the first half ATS line. Look, Dan Campbell and the Lions have absolutely owned this rivalry. Jared Goff with the Lions, 8-0 against the spread against the Vikings. Detroit's won 5 times in a row against the Vikings by 10.2 points a game. Last 3 home games by 11 points each or more in those games. The offense owns Brian Flores. It just Goff, the quick pass, the over-the-middle stuff, all the things Detroit does best is just shredding this defense. The pass rush is not getting there. I know Minnesota's a bit healthier there, but Amon-Ra in those 8 games with Goff, at least 6 catches, at least 60 yards every game. If you want to kind of throw that into a parlay, I think that's an easy spot. This is a bad matchup for Minnesota. And now, J.J. McCarthy magically healthy again now that Carson Wentz's arm literally fell off last week. So McCarthy's back just in time to face the number one DVOA defense. Thanks a lot for signing us up for that one. Minnesota offensive line is kind of in shambles. Like, that was part of the reason I was high on this team coming into the year, despite my usual nihilism that as a fan, that I thought the line would be really good, but they just can't get healthy. Darrisaw left tackle is playing like 5-10 snaps some games. O'Neal at right tackle. The center is in and out of the lineup. It just does not look good to me. So I don't mind the full game 8.5. Honestly, I think that probably ends up covering too. We know all the stats. Campbell's a favorite, 71% ATS. Goff, Lions indoors, 75%. Like, you and I are going to give that stat out over and over and over again. They're both great off the bye, Goff and Campbell. But why first half? Well, -5.5, so we get under the touchdown. So I like that for starters. But then Vikings, 1-6 against the spread in the first half. Worst team in the league so far. And 5-2 ATS in the second half. So it's a slow start, and then maybe some backdoor stuff coming after that. 1-6. The one is 34-3 against Carolina, where they just demolish, like the Kool-Aid man through the wall. The other 6, they're awful. They've lost all 6 straight up. They've maxed out at 7 points in those 6 games. Wolf. Average halftime score 13 to 5.7. So margin of defeat at halftime over a touchdown. That obviously covers our line here. The Vikings are dead last in DVOA offensively in the first half. If you think back ages ago to when we saw McCarthy, that's what we saw. Really rough early, and then maybe finally got a little comfortable late. And the last 3 games in Detroit for Minnesota, similar story. 12-6 basically at halftime on average score. So I like the Lions. I like the first half, and a little prop play in here as well, and kind of why I like the first half. The one problem the Lions have here, as good as they are, the secondary is just continue to be banged up everywhere. The corners, the safeties, everybody is injured. And Detroit has allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to receivers this season, including, I think, really only 2 true stud receiver ones, Jamar Chase and Rome Odunze. Those guys each had over 100 yards and 2 scores apiece in this game. So I love Justin Jefferson. I love him against Detroit. This is his favorite opponent. You know that Jefferson in his career has 1,200 yards against the Lions. His next highest opponent is 729, the Bears. So he has almost 500 yards more against Detroit, 121 yards per game in his career. 10 games, 6 of the 10, over half, at least 124 yards. So I know we've done this. I know Jefferson's been better with Carson Wentz. So I'm going to skip the standard over, 72.5. He's hit that 6 in a row. I'm going to skip that and just see if he can hit some on the high-end stuff. 100 yards, plus 240. 120 yards, plus 475. And then probably not, but just in case, maybe like a tenth of a unit. 150 yards at 12-1 and 180 at 30-1. Again, he's got games against the Lions in his career at 182, 192, and 223. He's had some huge games. And frankly, he's had those huge games even when the Lions are winning all these games and covering. So I don't mind if you want to put this with the Lions player, Lions first half. You get some negative correlation in there. That's what's been hitting in these matchups anyway. So the main play, first half Lions, but I like some of those Jefferson alts as well.
Yeah, you took that right out of my brain. I was considering Lions with Jefferson. Assume they blow them out, they throw more. I could see that as well. The angle that I'll hit on, since it's your bet, Goff and Campbell, 50, 24, and 2, first half ATS, 68%, 27 and 13 when they're at home, and we always love perfection, 6-0 facing Kevin O'Connell. So there you go. All right, let's go to our next game here. Rams and Saints. I honestly, you and I have been, doing the show for a while. We've been handicapping together for a while. I can't imagine you're looking at New Orleans here. So what are you doing with the Rams?
Not a chance. I am looking at New Orleans, but only because I'm just ruling with how to bet against them. You know how I love these like minus 14 games. I don't want to bet.
You figure out
spread,
a way.
But what's the angle? How do we bet this? Because you look at it and you're like, okay, well, this is a blowout. Tyler Shuck, welcome to the NFL. Enjoy your first start against a rested Rams defense coming off the bye. The Saints are already number 31 DVOA. Shuck is a statue like that. We knew that that's the scouting report. He cannot move at all. He's terrified to get hit. And now you've got Jared Verse and Byron Young and that whole defense coming at him. I just don't see this going well at all. The line for the Saints offensive line has gotten worse with McCoy out now. We all know how this is going to go. I wanted Saints team total under. It opened at 16.5 and almost immediately dropped to 13.5. Do you know how hard it is to drop 3 points on a team total that's already that low?
It's a lot.
So I think it's going to be a blowout. Duh, we all think that. Here's the bet. Rams to have the lead after every quarter of the game. And that is available. You're going to scroll all the way to the end of the menus and look under some of those specials. Rams to lead after every quarter. It's only minus 120. So it's basically a standard priced bet. So here's why I like this one. These are the 2 fastest teams in the league. So I think faster is better for the better team, more chances to be ahead. And the Saints have been awful in the first quarter. They're 1-7 ATS in the first quarter. They were 0-7 till 0-0 last week in the snoozer against the Bucs that we didn't even talk about on the recap, really. And I think Shuck is going to get whiplash coming out. The Bucs, that's kind of a slow defense, not a lot of pass rush there. This is a very different matchup with the Rams, the rested Rams. Saints defense, 31st in DVOA in the first quarter. It's by far their worst of the season. They get better kind of in garbage time late. So Rams, the Saints to trail every quarter has hit in 6 of their 7 losses already this year. Again, all of them, except the Bucs game last week when they were just tied 0-0 and then trailed all the rest of the quarter. So in other words, the Saints have played 8 games. They've lost 7 of them. And in those 7 games of 28 quarters, they've trailed at the end of 27 of the 28 quarters. So we just need all 4 of them here. Rams first quarter money line is past minus 300. So we basically are just saying, okay, that lead at the end of the quarter and then keep the lead. Don't blow it to Tyler Shuck. All right. Seems easy to me. I don't know why this is minus 20. I don't know what the correct price should be, but it strikes me as like a minus 300 type bet. And I did find a little way to play the Saints team total. We can always mine shaft the Saints. I'm not going to play the 13.5, but the Rams have allowed this season 9 points once, 7 points, even 3 points in a game. So Saints alternate team total under 10.5 plus 246 at DraftKings. Rams have hit that 3 times already defensively, and now it's Tyler Shuck. Sign me up. And Rams to shut the Saints out. Not a great bet usually because we don't get too many shutouts this season. It's 15-1 at DraftKings. Look for shutout, or you can do like an alternate under 2.5 points, basically, just in case they get a stupid safety in there. It's the same price anyway. 15-1 for the shutout. That's the bet on Saints all the way down in the mine shaft. I think this could be a rude welcome to the NFL for Tyler Shuck.
Yeah, that's a crazy price on that. You would almost make the assumption that it was to win every quarter. But I would have to see what that money line price would even be to be up, like to win every quarter versus having a lead at every quarter. But either way, at this point.
And to be clear, I would not want to win every quarter at minus 120. I would definitely want a much better price because you can't even have a tie then. You gotta go out and get points and win all those. So it's to lead every quarter is the bet that you want at minus 120. If you can't know where to find it, check out the app and I'll try to put some details in there on a good spot to kind of find it on the menu.
Yeah, great price. The only thing I'll add to is New Orleans. You mentioned it, first quarter terrible. Well, they're minus 52 point differential in the first quarter. It is the second worst quarter of any team this year. Carolina's second quarter is minus 62, but that's it. So nobody starts games worse than New Orleans. So we'll see if that keeps up. All right, let's go to our next game here. Jaguars and Raiders. We got some great games on this slate, but somehow you're telling me you have a great bet in this game. So what would you like from Jaguars and Raiders?
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch this game. Not necessarily for this bet, but for a couple of props we'll get to in a second. I like the under here, under 45.5. So I do have Jaguars in the pick 6. We talked about that. It's minus 3, trending 3.5 at books. I don't know. I don't need to be laying above the hook on a key number on the Jaguars on a road game. I don't know if I need that in my life. So I don't think I'll take Jaguars besides the money line. But I do think Liam Cohen and this team, so both teams are coming off the bye week here. I think it's more important for the Jacksonville side because Liam Cohen and his staff, one of the youngest coaching staffs in the league. I think getting settled a little bit is big for that team. The Raiders, they're off the bye too. They're 30th in offense by DVOA. I don't know if I really believe, like, Pete Carroll maybe just like took a nap for the last week. Like, we got old man Carroll and old man Gino. I'm not sure if the bye week's going to do a whole lot to fix that. It will get Brock Bowers back, which we'll get to in a second, but both of these teams actually better defense than you think. They're both by DVOA fringe top 10, which is not what I would have thought on either side here. So under 45.5 really is a trends play. Raiders are 5-2 to the under this season. That's second best in the NFL. Both teams are 5-2 to the first half under. So hopefully we get kind of a slow plodding start here. And then you had a stat similar to this in your article. Unders off the double bye. So both teams coming off the bye week, rested and ready. Unders in the last 2 decades, 29, 15, and 1, 66%. So basically 2/3 of the time. And you had this stat as well. Teams off of a bye week after getting shut out, that's the Raiders, their games are 8-1 to the under since 2009. I didn't even have that until I saw your article, and I already like the under anyway. So we'll just add it to our case. So Jaguars, Raiders under. But let me get into the props that I love on this game, because I actually am excited to probably watch back the game. Not a lot of live action on Jags Raiders, but I like Brock Bowers and I like Travis Hunter. I think these are two of the league's brightest young pass catchers, and I'm taking the escalator on both these guys. I think we could see a breakout for either or both of them. So Bowers, tight end, misses tight end day. He's on bye week. He's kind of missed this season. He first game, 5 catches, 103 yards, through 3 quarters in the opener, and then he gets hurt. And he's missing, kind of slogs through injury after that, played a couple games, didn't do that well. He's finally rested and back now. I think we should expect he's full speed. He last year played Jacksonville. He had 11 catches for 99 yards in that game. It was one of his best games of his career. It was Jacksonville's worst game allowed to a tight end, even though they're bottom 10 against tight ends last year and this year by fantasy points. So Bowers over 45.5 yards. I think that line is artificially suppressed. I think we are getting the, I'm not sure if he's going to play enough, or I'm not sure if he's healthy. I think that's the line. But he's been sitting out for weeks and sat out through the bye week specifically to be ready. He's over 45.5 in 14 of 21 games in his career. He's averaging 68 yards a game. So this line should not be this low. I think we're getting a bargain price because of the injury. Even this year, playing hurt, he's had at least 38 yards every game. So we only need 46. We're right there, even with the injured version of Bowers. So over the 45.5, and then 90 yards is 6-1. He's had 90 yards in a third of the games in his career, again, including the Jacksonville game last season. And then I like receptions too. 8 receptions is plus 475. He's had 8 catches in a third of his games in his career. 10 receptions is 15-1. Again, he had 11 against Jacksonville just last season. So if he's ready, I don't know if they're even playing Jacoby Myers at this point. They're trying to trade him. He's the guy. He's the only receiver there now. So I like Bowers a lot. I've been talking a lot. Before I get to Travis Hunter, thoughts on Bowers or this under here?
Yeah, you took the stat. You did it all. You know everything. So this is, I mean, I like I like it as well. I mean, I think these two teams and the slog behind Gino, I mean, he's 6-2 to the under in his last 8 home games, includes Seattle as well. So I just feel like this one is going to start slow. And I kind of feel like you're still assuming some Mayer with that Bowers line. So if you're right and he's ready to roll, he should go over that line. It's also going up at a few books, so shop around. But yeah, what else you got here?
Yeah, Bowers and Hunter, I kept watching for their lines all week long, and we just barely got lines posted right before recording today. So be sure to grab those. I do think both lines will go up. Hunter, look, he was my Rookie of the Year pick. I think that's probably a wash at this point. He's under 300 yards on the season, 1 touchdown. He's at 42 yards or less all but 2 games. But signs of life. Heading into the bye week, here's some numbers from the last 3 games in a row. Snap count from 65% to 79 to 87% on offense. Get out of here, defensive Hunter. Play some offense. We need a receiver. Brian Thomas got alligator arms over here and can't catch the ball anymore. We need you, Hunter. I think he's kind of shaping up to be the new wide receiver 1. Targets heading into the bye. 3, then 7, then 14 of the last game. He had 8 catches, 101 yards, and a score in that game against the Rams. And I was excited before the season because in this Liam Cohen offense, we saw two good receivers last year, Evans and Godwin. And I thought Hunter was the Godwin, the power slot role, but then he missed training camp. Remember, he was injured. So I think now settling in, figuring out the offense, defense thing, getting healthy, and now 2 weeks off, I think this is when it's time to unleash Travis Hunter. The Raiders are top 5 in fantasy points allowed, 2 receivers. They've allowed 8 receivers, at least 5 catches. They've allowed 11 receivers, at least 47 yards. 47 is the number we need. Over 46.5, Travis Hunter on the yards. That's the bet. 70 yards or more as a little escalator at plus 240. The Raiders haven't really allowed huge games to single receivers. They kind of let teams spread it around on them, but I'll nibble anyway in case we get the breakouts. I think that the odds are bad here. 100 yards is 750 and 120 yards is 14-1. Probably not too crazy. I'll put most of my bet here just on the over, but I think Travis Hunter back half of the season, he might be wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville, and I think this is a good spot for him to start to show it.
Yeah, you've been hearing it through Liam Cohen, but it's actually in the facts that he's just playing more on the offensive side of the ball. Here are his some stats last 3 weeks. So offensive snap percentage, 65%, 80%, 87%, and route percentage, 87%, 94%, 96%. So last 3 weeks, and I think you're going to see it even more now, they just need him on that side of the ball, and I think they're going to move him around a lot. And if you can predict where you're going to see him more, it's the bets you're going to have to take. All right, we have waited long enough. It's time to talk Chiefs and Bills matchup. Honestly, matchup of the season, except maybe you want to argue that next Monday Night Football is going to be just as good. Eagles, Packers, but one AFC, one NFC. The next 2 weeks are going to be fantastic. So to me, I want to hear what you think about this game just off the bat, because I feel like every year we handicap kind of this same matchup. Now, listen, there's new characters, there's new weapons, there's different things about the teams that make them different. But I think stylistically, Reed, McDermott, Allen, Mahomes, like you kind of know what you're going to get, at least from a prediction standpoint. Like that's the way we handicap the game. So how are you going to do that this week?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that we pretty much know what we're getting. It's Mahomes, Allen, 10, right? Like it's Too Fast, Too Furious, and you just keep making more sequels because they're all good. They're all the same, but it doesn't matter. Like they're great. Let's keep watching over and over. So yeah, for my money, this is the game of the year. This is the best rivalry in football. This is very likely a matchup we will see again in January if history is any indication, and it usually has been in recent years. And this has been one of my favorite games to bet because if you're a longtime listener here, and Evan, you and I have recorded on this game before multiple times, I'm running back pretty much my same bets. I just run back my notes and I'm like, yeah, all these things keep hitting. We kind of know the script here, right? We watch Mahomes, we watch Allen. Game goes back and forth. It's close late, mano a mano. Last one with the ball wins, right? Okay, well, who gets the ball last? I don't know, so I don't really know who wins. But so you said matchup. Okay, here's what I think off the top. The Chiefs are on short rest. Sort of. They weren't really stressed on Monday night. I'm not making too much of that. They're heading into the bye week. I think that, this is the game. This is the one you've been watching for with the Chiefs. I don't make too much of that. I don't love the offensive line still. I think Josh Simmons, the left tackle, we're probably still not quite there yet. Trey Smith, the right guard, I'm not sure about him. It looks like Pacheco is probably out. I do think that matters a lot here. The Bills' run defense is not great. And Kareem Hunt is kind of, as a Vikings fan, back in the day, we had Leroy Horde. If you need 3 yards, I'll give you 4. If you need 10 yards, I'll give you 4. Like that's Kareem Hunt. He's just going to kind of give you what you get. So I do think that's a miss. The Bills, though, Ed Oliver is the biggest name missing for them. Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones, both their D tackles are missing. Bills defense, I think, is clearly the weak link in the matchup. We know both offenses are really good. We know the quarterbacks are great. Chiefs defense has been kind of fringe top 10. That's what I thought both of these teams would be. The Bills have not been that. The Bills' run defense has been really bad. And I think for the Chiefs, is it their short passing game? Is that kind of their run game that beats up on the Bills' sort of run defense? Typically, I look Travis Kelce props in this matchup. But last year, Kelce was invisible. The Bills kind of took him out. He had 2 catches for 8 and 2 catches for 19. So I don't know if I need Kelce props here. I started with that. Probably Rashee Rice is going to be heavily involved. With the Bills, they're missing Josh Palmer also. kind of shorthanded at receiver. We will see if they don't do well in this game. You come out and you got like 1 day to make a trade before the deadline. Do they go get a receiver like we've seen them do? Again, typically I look Khalil Shakir. He's really good in this matchup for Buffalo, kind of the security blanket. I believe, if I remember right, last year that was the key player, right? Shakir like motion out of the backfield and Allen just overthrows him on the 4th down, and that's the end of the season. However, I like Shakir props, but rookie Noah Williams at corner has been really good for the Chiefs. I think he's been good enough to let Trent McDuffie, the star corner, move into the slot, maybe move around with Shakir. And I think that can take away one of those security blankets for Buffalo. And I'm a little worried that the current Bills team is much less last year's version and more the previous ones, where we talked about MVP at the top. Is this an MVP Allen team where he's got to do everything because Shakir is getting covered? James Cook has been good, but can they kind of siphon off the run game a little bit? Yeah, it's an exciting matchup that we could do a whole podcast on, but that's kind of what I make of the matchup. Before I get to some of my angles on it, what are you looking at here on the matchup?
The matchup to me is kind of simple. It comes down to pressure on Buffalo's side on Patrick Mahomes. I'll give you a few stats before I toss it back. So this year, Buffalo was allowed the 5th fewest checkdowns to opposing quarterbacks. It was the 6th most last year. So that just says something kind of about their defense. But the thing that's a little interesting and maybe a little bit misdirection is their defense is also allowing the lowest rate of clean pockets. So they're doing a really good job. And listen to this list. They're number 1 in the NFL in a defense. Lowest rate of clean pockets, 55%, and the highest pressure rate. Okay? The other defenses are Denver and Cleveland. It's just not something you would expect. So I think you're seeing very different defenses out of Buffalo based off of opponent. That's my solution on what I think is going on here. So here's what I saw. Last 6 games, Mahomes versus the Bills. Here's the pressure stats. He has 7 passing touchdowns and no picks in a clean pocket. When the pocket is under pressure, 5 touchdowns and 5 picks. In play action in the screen game, he has 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. To me, this just comes down to if that clean pocket percentage and doing exactly what they've done up to this point this season is accurate, I think Buffalo's going to stay in this game. If they let Pat just sit there, I think they're torched. And the thing, like Rodgers, Pat gets out the ball really quickly, especially in these games when he knows everyone's ramped up. So that I'm going to be absolutely fascinated when the Chiefs are on offense. When the Bills are on offense, I think they're going to struggle a little bit unless they rely on the run. I just don't have faith in their passing game. I think, yes, Shakir could be here, but I think they're going to need Keon Coleman to show up. I think they need random people to kind of show up in this spot to make them move down the field, because if they don't rely on the run and they just go by the pass, I think they're going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I think that's smart. And the Chiefs' pass rush has not been great really for a while now. So unless Chris Jones has been saving it for this game, maybe they don't get a lot of pressure on Josh Allen and he's able to be the MVP that he certainly can be. And I mean, quite frankly, if we're being fair, Josh Allen's been the better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes in the last couple of years already. So sure. I look at this and I'm like, okay, I prefer the Chiefs, but I think I make this pretty close to a pick 'em. So that would mean slightly value on the Bills at Chiefs -2 on the road. It's not enough for me. I don't need to invest at a -2, a +2, a money line. It's too much. It's cutting things too close when we know this is likely going to come down late. So I'm going to come back to some angles I've played often here. So Chiefs this season have been better early. The Bills are only 2-5 against the first half spread, but we know Josh Allen's the second half king. 67% ATS career, 5-2 ATS this year in the second half. So I was like, okay, Chiefs first half, Bills second half, Chiefs first half, Bills money line. Oh, now I'm back to having to pick a winner. I don't really want to pick a winner, to be honest. I think there are other ways around it. And the Bills, in 9 games against Mahomes, they have led at some point all 9 matchups. So these games are giving Buffalo a shot, and Buffalo's been a little bit better in the regular season matchup as well. In fact, both teams have led in 8 of the 9 matchups. So we're getting the lead going back and forth. Again, I'm not breaking news. Everyone has watched this game. We all know this is what happens, but we can bet it. At DraftKings, under team props, there's a bet that talks about comeback. So here's my first bet. Chiefs to win from behind, plus 215 at DraftKings. Now look, we all know when Mahomes is trailing in a game, you want the live money line. He's still got a shot, right? But books price that away. They don't give us that anymore. It's a minus number still most of the time. You don't get plus 215 Chiefs from behind unless they're down like 10 points or something like that. So I'm going to, in advance, give Josh Allen credit for taking the lead at some point, maybe early, maybe later, and then get the Chiefs comeback. Mahomes has 5 wins against Josh Allen, all 5 from behind. So all 5 Mahomes wins have hit this bet, plus 215, comeback win. If you like Buffalo, you can bet the same bet on Buffalo. Just get the right odds for it. You'll get a slightly better price. I think it's a good way to bet it. Or if you just think it's close and you don't know who's going to win, great. I have an angle for you. Last 6 matchups, here's the margin. 3, 9, 3, 3, 4, and 6. So the 6 is overtime, so 0 really. And the 9, well, that was a 2-point game until that crazy Josh Allen run when he ran through like 8 dudes and scored a touchdown with 2 minutes left, and that changed it from 2 to 9. So basically, it's a field goal game or less, except once in the last 6 times. So, okay, we can play that. Neither team to win by 7 points or more, plus 107. Here's how you play it. It's very easy. Same game parlay. Chiefs plus 6.5, Bills plus 6.5. Smash them together. Neither team wins by 7. Plus odds on it. Has hit 5 of the last 6 matchups here. And then one more similar here. You know we're getting fireworks late. These teams always pull out all the stops in the fourth quarter. Both teams have scored in 8 of the 9 fourth quarters when they play. All but one playoff game. So I played every time. Both teams to score in the fourth quarter. That's a real bet you can make. It's minus 190. It's a high end number for me to play at minus 190, but I've seen it as high as like minus 300 at some books. I think it should be even longer than shorter. I never know which way you say it, but it shouldn't be that. You can do that as a same game parlay leg if you want at a lot of books. So maybe you add that in. If you don't like the minus 90, add it with some other stuff you like. But yeah, I think game wise, I'll get to props in a second, but those are the 3 angles. Chiefs to win from behind, plus 215. Neither team wins by 7 or more, plus 107. And then both teams to score in the fourth quarter, minus 190.
Yeah, I guess the only one I would just have like a remark on would be both teams to score in the fourth quarter. And the advantage I think you have, anyone who bets first quarters knows how aggravating it is when the team at the end of the first quarter doesn't care that it's the end of the first quarter and you do because you have your money on it. Well, in this case, it's actually to your advantage because at the end of the third quarter, they're not going to care, and hopefully they score some points at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and now all of a sudden you have a minus 190 bet on like maybe the Chiefs or the Bills to score any points in the quarter. Seems like a decent way to attack that. So that was the first thing that came to mind for me. Okay, let's keep rolling here on Chiefs Bills. So we're going to stay on this for a second. You have some props. Now, I'll just say this. Every time you watch this game, I feel like it's a playoff game, no matter when it is in the season. And when you get to playoff games, it's doing anything you can to get the first downs. Because I think that's how you get what you're about to talk about is the third and whatevers. They need to get yards to go up and down the field. And this is how Josh gets there. So what are you doing?
Yeah, give me all the Josh Allen rushing overs. It is my go-to bet on any big Bills game, and it is a good bet to make time after time. Look, these are the same angles I'm playing because they keep on hitting. The Bills, the numbers are really clear. The Bills save Allen's legs for the biggest games. Even just this season, the Bills have had a pretty soft schedule. Who are the 2 biggest games on the schedule? Week 1 against the Ravens before they went really bad, and then the game against the Patriots. In those games, Allen averages 11.5 rushing attempts, 5.2 in the other games. So he's literally running twice as much in the games that they think are the big games. And look at the Chiefs over the years. When Allen plays the Chiefs, he averages 10.3 rushing attempts in those games for 45 yards. So even better in the playoffs because, again, now it's actually the playoffs and everything's on the line. But he's running more in these games. And the Chiefs and Bills are top 3 in the league in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. Only the Cowboys allow more rushing yards than either of these defenses to quarterbacks. Now, I'm not sure that's really a thing for the Bills. They played Lamar, they played Fields and Tyrod. I could get behind a Patrick Mahomes rushing over. He's hit his over 6 of 8. It's not been consistent, so I don't mind it. I like Allen. Kansas City has allowed the most rushing attempts to quarterbacks, 6.3 a game. They've allowed at least 6 attempts to a quarterback 5 times already. They'll at least 27 yards 5 times, 3 short touchdowns. We know that that is Josh Allen. Okay, so what do we bet? Yards, attempts, touchdowns? It's me. We're betting all 3. So over 35.5 rushing yards. That line is up a little bit from his usual. It's not up enough. His floor against Kansas City is 32 yards. We need 36. So that's a good bet. 50 yards or more he's hit in 5 of 9 Chiefs games. That is plus 190. Should be a minus number by his history. Rushing attempts, over 7.5. It's plus 102. He has at least over 7.5. He's at least 8 attempts, all but once against the Chiefs. And that one missed by 1. So the floor is where this line is being set. Even better, honestly, my favorite Allen bet this week, 10 rushing attempts. So 2 extras, plus 375. 9 Chiefs games, he's hit 10 rushing attempts in 7 of the 9. That's a 78% hit rate. That should be like a minus 375. We're getting a plus 375. And lastly, when Allen runs 8 times since the start of last season, he gets a running touchdown, an anytime touchdown, 15 of 19 times when he gets that many runs. So Allen rushing touchdown, again, anytime touchdown, plus 115, and multiple TDs over half of those games. That's 8-1. We know we're going to see points in this one. The total's in the 50s. I think that is in play as well. He hasn't quite had as many anytime touchdowns against the Chiefs, but I'm playing all 6 of these. You'll see them all in the app. I like the 10 rushing attempts best. I think they could all hit. I think we'll hit at least a few of these. Don't get hurt, Josh, please, because that's a good way to lose all of them. But it should be a really fun game. I always want Josh rushing overs in a huge game like this. And we mentioned at the top, if you want the futures angle, that's really easy. Bet MVP for whoever you think is going to win. They'll be in a clear position for a top 2 seed. It's a head-to-head win. It's the big game. We're all watching it. This is a game I'll probably end up with like 7 units of bets on because of all the stuff we just gave out. But it's usually pretty consistent game to game. And so hopefully we get another classic here.
Yeah, I was looking down at the DraftKings app trying to figure out some rushing stuff. They don't have any specials up yet, but I was looking at maybe Mahomes and Allen if they have anything fun combined. That might be something I might look at. Because if you parlay 40 for both, it's only 4-1. And I don't think the Mahomes angle on that has nearly the opportunity that the Josh Allen angle does.
Yeah.
The other prop I was looking for, and I went across a bunch of books, including DraftKings, trying to find something of this nature. But Josh has 20 plus rushing yards in the second half of 3 straight versus Kansas City. So I felt like there is going to be an element of him doing that need to get yardage, need to get first downs more in the second half. But I can't find an angle yet there, but just something to keep in your back
pocket. Could be a live play too. If watch and Nick Giffen and our guys that do the bet what happens live, that might be a one for them to play at halftime and get a live rushing over.
Especially, if he's done nearly nothing in the first half, I still think these scrambling and designed rush attempts are to come if it's not there already. So the other thing I think is just fascinating in this matchup is kind of the turnover stuff. I don't know if you've seen, but the fumble luck on Kansas City's side, where they've fumbled 8 or 9 times this year and haven't lost one yet, is nearly incredible. Some of the things that, and if you look last year, only 10 fumbles in total and lost only 3 of them. So to have 19 fumbles over 2 years and only lose 3 of them feels just absolutely ridiculous. So that's one angle on it. And to me, when I see these matchups and I've looked back, Buffalo very rarely turns the ball over in these games. Usually it's Kansas City making the dumb mistake and it's still coming back to hurt Buffalo in the end. Somehow, some way. So just interesting there. I think turnovers tend to be an odd thing. And in these games, especially when Kansas City's turned it over 2+ times, Buffalo's 4-0 straight up and against the spread. So we will see how that goes, but something I was looking at. All right, you ready to roll?
Yeah, let's roll through some lightning rounds here before I look ahead.
All right, start with the Bears and Bengals game. What's the prop you like?
I like DeAndre Swift here. I think this is a good rushing setup for him. So I'm going to take his rushing yards over and an anytime touchdown. Look, the injury report is a mess. The Bears might be without their top 3 corners and their top 4 receivers. Like, they're all questionable. Trey Hendrickson, I don't know if he's playing. Joe Flacco, we don't know if he's playing. Even so, the over is getting steamed up from 48 to like almost 53 now because the Bengals defense is terrible. They're 32nd in DVOA. They're bottom 2 run and pass. And we've talked about this on our Sunday night show. Bears run game has quietly broken out since the bye week. First 3 games of the season, Chicago is bottom 3 EPA per play rushing. Last 3 games, they're top 5 since the bye week. Yards for contact, just a start. I think it's a scheme thing. I think they are learning the Ben Johnson effect. I think the line has gotten healthy as well. And I think it sets up well for DeAndre Swift. Running back ones against the Bengals have just been crushing. From week 3 forward, they're averaging 16 carries, 104 yards. They've had at least 93 yards in 5 of the 6 games. They had a touchdown in 4 of the 6 games. So, touchdown, minus 135. I think that's worth it on Swift. He scored in 4 straight as it is, 5 of 7 on the season. And then over 60.5 rushing yards. Did not hit last week against Baltimore because they're behind all game. But 108 and 124 yards in the 2 games out of the bye week since then. If you want to sprinkle a touch on 100 yards, plus 450, I think that's worth a look. He is also on the injury report with a groin injury. I suspect he will play, but if you want to wait a little bit just to make sure that's clear, that would be okay. But Swift, rushing yards and touchdown, I think it's a great spot for him against the Bengals.
Yeah, it's nice that Ben Johnson's found his Sonic and Knuckles because Mononga is as well as getting a bunch of carries for them. In terms of Cincinnati, though, 1 of 5 teams allowing 5 yards per rush, which is crazy in itself. 5 teams allowing 5 yards per rush at this point in the season. But Cincinnati, 12.8% stuff rate, which is at or before line of scrimmage, worst mark in the NFL. They ain't stopping anybody, and especially on the ground. It's been really bad, so I like the Swift play. All right. Chargers and Titans. I assume you are not taking the point spread. So what are you doing here?
No, I'm just going with Old Faithful here. This is like 3-4 weeks in a row. We're just betting a running back to score a touchdown against the Titans. It's going to keep hitting. We're going to keep playing it. Give me Kamani Vidal. It's even odds. Are you kidding me? We're getting a running back against the Titans to score a touchdown. Literally 8 for 8 on the season. Every Titans game, a running back has scored a touchdown. Kamani Vidal, since taking the lead role after all the injuries, he has a touchdown in both Chargers wins in that stretch. I don't really have much more to say here. It's just the same bet that we've been playing. 2 touchdowns is 5-1. Tennessee has allowed that 3 times already. If you want the JT special, Jonathan Taylor scored 3 touchdowns twice on the Titans already. I don't think Kamani Vidal is quite Jonathan Taylor, but that's 22-1 if you want to just touch that one just in case. You got to touch them all with the Titans because this team is terrible right now. They're 32nd in DVOA. That's dead last. And they're kind of leaning into the tank. They're trading away their top corner now. This is going to keep getting worse. Jeffrey Simmons is out. It's all bad with Tennessee. So Kamani Vidal, I think we slandered him a couple weeks ago. Now we're betting him. So that's how it goes in the betting world. Give me a touchdown.
Yeah, Haskins still not practicing. And how about this? Only 2 players have gotten a carry inside the 5 for the Chargers all season. Marion Hampton with 4 and Kamani Vidal with 3. That is it. So with Hampton gone, Vidal is the man. Now, last week we got Jared Patterson and Nyheim Hines. But listen, that's not happening until it's 30-0 and Vidal's already got 2 touchdowns. The thing I will say, a second half touchdown for Jared Patterson might be something worth looking at, or some sort of blowout angle where you're trying to profit late, kind of like a bunch of us like Keaton Mitchell, second half or anytime or last touchdown. Certain things like that in those matchups, kind of an intriguing look of looking at it. All right, let's keep rolling here. Colts, Steelers. This is honestly one of the more fascinating matchups of the week. If this wasn't a Buffalo, Kansas City masterpiece on our schedule, this would be one you would talk a lot about, because what the Colts are doing going up against this terrible looking Pittsburgh defense right now, like they got to figure out a way to get it right, but you don't think so based off this bet.
Yeah, look, this really should be another rah-rah spot for me, and I think I probably would be betting it if I hadn't just already been burned in the rah-rah spot Sunday night. It did not go well. You got to have a short memory as a bettor, and sometimes keep going back to the well. I wouldn't be afraid of that at times, but I think, too, with some of these trends, and this hits all the trends. Tomlin at home, underdog, off a loss, and Bears defense, this checks all the boxes, but sometimes these trends go to die when it's the end of a career. And it might be the end for Tomlin and or for Aaron Rodgers at this point. I'm going to sit it out on the side. If I miss, I miss. We'll learn and we'll be able to play again the next time. I'm really not super into the Colts yet either. So I kind of am just a little bit confused on the side. I do love the tight end against Pittsburgh, though. We hit that last week with Tucker Kraft, our big smash on tight ends day, 143 and 2 scores. So we're going to run it back with another tight end that's a lot like that. Give me Tyler Warren overs against the Steelers. I want yards. I want touchdowns. So Steelers, second most fantasy points to tight ends, second most touchdowns, 6 already, most yards per game, 79 allowed to tight ends. I gave you the Kraft line. Hunter Henry had 8 for 90 and 2 scores. Harold Fannin had 7 for 81. We, of course, bet the wrong tight end in that game, if I recall, but we're getting the right one this time. Tyler Warren, the rookie, at least 38 yards every game. He's had at least 4 catches and 53 yards, 6 of the 8 games. 53 yards is perfect. We need over 52.5. So give me that usual Tyler Warren outcome. It's well below the Pittsburgh average. So we'll take that one. Touchdown is plus 145. Warren scored 4 the last 5 games. He runs sometimes too. They put him under center for the sneak, so we might steal one that way. I will say, be careful. Jaylen Warren is on the wrong side in this one. We want Tyler Warren, the tight end for the Colts. So make sure you get the right Warren in your bet. And then if you want to combine them, 53 yards and a touchdown, plus 225. And if you want to touch the 2 touchdowns, we just hit that one last week. So roll over a little bit of that Kraft money, 11-1 on 2 touchdowns for Tyler, not Jaylen, Mr. Warren.
Yeah, Pittsburgh sucks versus tight ends, 23rd in DVOA and 31st in yards per game. So I expect Warren to kind of have a field day, especially with Steichen's, scheming. The other thing I thought was awesome, Colts inside 10 opportunities this year. So Jonathan Taylor with 24, got it, leads the team. Daniel Jones has 8. Then Tyler Warren has 6. 4 by receiving, 2 by rushing, inside the 10. So they are really doing the Dallas Goedert with him. And I think you're going to see a little bit more of that. So there's a lot of chances to get touchdowns, and then they should find him downfield. So I like both of those. All right, we got 2 more here. Giants, Niners. What the heck are you doing here with the Walking Dead matchup? Honestly, the injury report on this game is crazy.
It really is bizarre. It's like, who knows who's playing for either team, especially defensively. It's a mess. I find it hard to believe these teams are that far apart right now. And so I think this kind of sets up similar to what we said about Texans Niners last week of, I don't really know what's going to happen in this game, but I do know that it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a close game here. I think we kind of left some money on the table with the Niners game last week. We faded them hard with the alts. I'm going back to the well. I'm going to take some Giants alts against the Niners again. Same bet, really, as Texans last week. And let me be clear. I do not like the Giants as much as I like the Texans, but I just think neither team here is particularly great. 3 of the 4 units are bottom 10 by DVOA. The only one that's not is Niners offense, but it doesn't look like we're getting Brock Purdy still. So I think Mac Jones more likely is who we get. Passing offense is the one thing neither team has really done above average. Giants run defense, awful, so bad, but it's not a great matchup for the Niners. They're better running up the middle than outside, almost 5 yards a carry up the middle for 3 yards a carry outside. So that is a bad matchup for the Giants. And then the Niners are not a man gap scheme. They're more of a zone scheme. The Giants are awful against man, 7 yards a carry, 59% success rate. They're kind of fine against zone base, 4.3 yards a carry, 46% success. And that's more what the Niners do. So I just think that the matchup here kind of says, I think it could be close. And if it's close, I don't know, man. I kind of don't know if I wouldn't mind Jackson Dart rather than Mac Jones late in the game. I think we probably are looking at something of a coin flip here. Niners defense, we keep talking about it. They're cooked, man. They have injuries up and down the roster. Bosa is out. Warner is out. Now a bunch of the replacements are out. They also were just on the field like the entire first half against the Texans. 75 plays. You have this in your column. Last 2 seasons, defenses that have been on the field that much the following week are 13 and 23 straight up, 36% straight up. Now, I do think there's some selection bias. Obviously, bad teams are going to be on the field a lot, but I don't know. The 49ers might not be a bad team at this point. So I'm going back to the Houston bet. I think often we see kind of a toss-up line and we're like, oh, okay, so it's going to be a close game. Well, not necessarily. Here's a crazy stat. last decade, there's been 127 times that a home underdog of under 3 points won outright. So that hopefully is the Giants here. 77 of those times, 61% of the time, that team won by at least 7 points. So just because it's a close spread does not mean it's a close game. 6 of the last 10 Giants wins are by 7 or more, half by double digits. And admittedly, that's across like 3 seasons because the Giants suck. But Niners, we already said last week, last calendar year, now 7 of their last 11 losses are by double digits. Average margin of defeat, 12.7. They just lost by double digits last week. So back to the well. Here's the 2 I'm playing. Giants minus 4.5. It's plus 230. It's a weird number. Why 4.5? Well, 5.5 and 6.5 are like almost the same price, but 5 and 6 are kind of a little bit key numbers. So sure, let's take the easier way out this time. And then minus 9.5, so double-digit win, plus 450. I think the Niners win, frankly. I think the Niners are slightly better, but I don't really think we've hit rock bottom on San Francisco. And losing to the Giants by double digits, that might be it. And I want a part of it if we get there. So Giants to win by 5 or 10 points at least. That's the bet.
Just because the spread is tight doesn't mean the game is printed. All right, let's go to our next game here. Panthers and Packers. Now, this one's interesting because I kind of feel like it is boom or bust, but you are taking it to the nth degree. So what are you doing here with Carolina Green Bay?
I'm going to take a shot. I'm taking a shot on the Panthers money line. It's plus 750. It's our longest shot of the podcast wrapping up here. On paper, not a lot of reason this should be close. I'm still on the Packers. I still think this is maybe the most complete team in the NFC, certainly a top ceiling if they get there. But we've expressed a lot of doubts about the Packers. They play very slow. They allow teams to stay in the game. This looks like the biggest weather game of the weekend, 17-mile-an-hour wind. I think that's going to lean in to what I already thought might be a little bit of a tricky spot. Both of these teams want to run the ball a lot. That's fine. If you're the underdog, great. Let's both trade runs. Let's both trade body blows. Let the game stay close down to the finish, and then we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't really want Bryce Young against Jordan Love. I'd sure rather have Bryce Young than Andy Dalton, just to be clear on that. Don't want Andy Dalton at all. Put him back in the mothballs. He's done. But if it's going to be close late, we should have a chance. Carolina's run defense got obliterated last week. But before that, they were top 3 in a lot of metrics. So assuming last week was not the usual, maybe they hang. Packers' run defense has been bad most years until recently. Rico Dowdle kind of got the vote of confidence this week. The Panthers have run pretty well. It just, to me, is a good buy low spot. Carolina just had the blowout loss. There's a lot of trends that would say, okay, ATS for Carolina. I don't really want a Carolina plus 13.5. Like, I know that that's the right side here probably, but I can't get excited about, all right, the Panthers are down 17. Bryce has the ball. Let's see if we get our cover. I don't want that. So what I do want is this. The Packers have yet to win by more than 10 points. Even when they dominate, they're not putting teams away. So if it's a single score game, we got a shot. And I want a shot at the big win. So I make this line more like 11. It's 13.5. That doesn't seem like much, but with our calculator turning spread into money line, that means this should be like a plus 400, 425. We're getting plus 750. If I'm playing a long shot like this, and may I remind you, Dolphins, Jets last week, we just hit 2 of these guys. I want to make it worth our while. Plus 750, Panthers. It's my big upset pick of the week if it happens. I would steer you away from this one in Survivor. I think there are other better matchups out there like Rams or others. It's just not a great matchup for the Packers. Maybe it's 40-9 and that's it and it's whatever. But I think Carolina has a real script where they could win this one.
Yeah, to be fair, we just haven't seen it yet. Since the calendar turned to 2025, Packers have been favorite of 7 points or more 4 times. They're 0-4 against the spread. I'll give you one more. And this one where I thought was really interesting because we talked about this on the favorites earlier today. But Packers have the Eagles on Monday Night Football the week after. So last 20 years, this late into the season, team with a 70% win percentage is a double-digit favorite with a 70-plus win percentage on deck. Next game, opponent on deck. 83% straight up. Understood, you're a double-digit favorite. But 41% against the spread. I found that kind of interesting. That's about a 40% delta between win and cover. So, I mean, listen, if you're going to win the game, you're also going to cover the game. So at least you got to keep this one close with Carolina. So I get it, but we will see what happens. All right.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the Eagles game. That was in my notes, and I just glossed over. But I do think that's part of it. I think this is a look-ahead spot for the Packers that you and I have been talking about, that Eagles Monday night game already for a week. So the Packers, of course, are looking for that game too. And 83% straight-up win rate. That's not good. Like, you should be betting the underdog, because the underdog should be only like a plus 500 if that, by that math, and we're getting a plus 750. So we'll take a shot. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, 38-8. You'll take those 8. All right, let's get to the look ahead here. So look ahead for week 10. You're looking at Commanders Lions. I think I know what side you're taking.
Yeah, it's not Commanders. I'll tell you that much. This is very similar to the line that we took last week. So we took Seahawks minus 2.5 at the Commanders. Here we are, Lions minus 3 at the Commanders. It's a very similar pick. And look, the Seahawks are like 3.5 now. The line did move past the key number like we expected, so we got the right side of our look ahead. But that makes this an easy pick. Why in the world are Lions minus 3 if Seahawks are minus 3.5? We're rating the Lions lower than the Seahawks? Nobody's higher on Seattle than me, but that's ludicrous. The Lions should not be rated below the Seahawks right now. And in this matchup, McLaurin's hurt again. He's probably not going to play. Laramie Tunsil, the best lineman, he's got a hamstring injury. We don't know what's up with him. We think Jaden Daniels is healthy, but we've seen Daniels come back, play, and get hurt again. So who knows a week from now against the Lions, or even how healthy he will be. There is a shot, especially if we're right about our Seattle pick, that Washington loses Sunday night. We're all watching, and now they're on a 4-game losing streak, and they're in free fall, and we are not getting anything close to Lions minus 3. And here's the other thing that I love about this spot. Remember the last time the Lions played Washington? Because Dan Campbell does. It ended the season last year, 45-31. They got embarrassed. And nobody cares more about that than Dan Campbell and his coaching staff. Remember the last time we saw this? The Lions played late in the season against the Cowboys. 20-19, they lost. They had the Dan Skipper sub. They tried to throw him the ball. It got waved off by the refs. They were pissed. They came back last season, 47-9 in Dallas. They demolished them. The revenge spot is huge with this team. I promise you, the Lions have been waiting to play Washington all season long. Minus 3 is a crazy line. I love Detroit in this spot.
This is my favorite look-ahead spot we've ever done, the narrative look-ahead spot. Well done by yourself, because I honestly didn't even think about that, but you're completely correct. He is going to do everything in his power, and that is Dan Campbell, to make sure Washington pays. The other really, really good angle on this is everything you just said about beating Minnesota as well. Like, anything they do to Minnesota this week is just going to impact this line. So I like where your head's at. All right, that'll do it here on the Action Hour podcast for our week 9 Best Bets episode presented by DraftKings. If you want instant notifications when action experts track their bets, go to actionhour.com/pro and use the promo code POD20, POD20 for $20 off a year of Action Pro. And if you haven't yet, check out our new AI Quick Slip bot on X. Just tag Playbook at Playbook. Tell it to grab whatever bets you're looking for, and it'll create a quick slip link for you in a matter of seconds on X platform right there for you to click. Super easy. And again, if you want to tell some of the bets we gave out today, make sure to look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or go to actionhour.com/bet now. We will be back Sunday night for our NFL recap show. That'll be live on Action Hour YouTube page shortly after Sunday Night Football between the Seahawks and Commanders. And we will get you ready for Cardinals and Cowboys the next night with a bet or two. So thank you for listening. Enjoy the slate. Good luck with all your bets this weekend, everyone.